Hello, fellow deep thinkers, and welcome back with me, Dr. Moe. I want to thank you for tapping in with me today for today's conversation. I'm excited for the conversation that we're going to have because I am very much so confident that if you were guided here to the channel in this video, then you are on the same algorithm, frequency, and alignment with having made a recent major change. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Because this video was brought to you for a specific reason, because you recently made a change. You recently decided to change your life. You recently decided to change something in your personal algorithm of your brain, your life, or within social media, family, whatever. You decided to make some type of change. And because you decided to make that change, everything else around you has been changing. Even down to the point where it may make you want to question yourself. And you may be in that state of questioning yourself right now on a change that you had to make. Or just about a change that had to happen and why it had to happen. And that's why I'm here. That's why this video appeared on your home page or your suggested feed or your subscriptions if you're subscribed to the channel, because you're on this same frequency still. And so go on, grab you something to drink. I have a coffee today, so I'm drinking my coffee today. Let me know down below in the comments what you all are drinking on as you're tapping into the conversation, and we're gonna get it going, okay? Let me get my little sippy sip, okay? Now, the beauty of life is that everything operates in a flow and a system. We have our different ecosystems. We have different cultures, we have different cities, different states, and they're all governed in a different way. But the way that it's governed, it has its own specific flow. So we may have certain laws in one country. You travel to another country, there's different laws. So for example, before I travel to another country, I'm always researching the culture. I'm researching what are the common, concepts, what are the laws, what is seen as being socially correct and what is not, because I never want to offend that culture or that system or that new algorithm that I'm walking into. Because I realize that as I'm stepping into that environment, I am creating a combustive change. I'm adding a change of a frequency and an energy into that space. So I either have to align with that energy and that flow, or I become a problem. And so I'm giving this as a metaphor as we get into the conversation of where we're going at. So for example, say someone travels to another country and they don't know their laws of harassment, for example. And so they do something that would be normal in their country at home, and they do it there and they get locked up. It became an issue with that algorithm of where they came into because they didn't fit into that system, right? But in their old algorithm, in their old life, in their old space, that worked. It was fine. But in the new one, it didn't. And that's what I want to get into today in today's conversation of what happens when you decide to make a big change in your life. So if you've seen my most recent video before this one, I strongly recommend that you see that video and watch it to the end, because it gives you step by step on how to add and subtract when needed, okay? Or how to change in general, the flow of change. So you began the process of making your changes and you feel good about it. But guess what? Everyone around you didn't change. Everything else around you didn't change. So in a way, it's like you've become your own city in the midst of other cities. You once shared the same laws, the same rules, the same culture, the same everything, the same flow. But immediately, as soon as you decided to make that change, psychologically, it started psychologically and mentally first, because then the physical came after that, right? So as soon as you decided to make that mental change, everything that does not align with that change is going to be a battle. It's going to be a fight. Because it's no longer operating in a space where the rules are governed the same. Let me know down below if that makes sense. We're going to go a little bit more into it, but this is a big one because many people, when they go through and they make a change in their life or they say they're ready to make a change, as soon as things start, oh, I'm looking at the time, it's 11:11 as soon as I look down. As soon as they make the change and things start happening, they immediately go to in their mind of, oh my gosh, what did I do to bring this on? I must be wrong for these changes that I made. I must be wrong for these changes that I made, because if these changes were meant for me to make, oh y'all, I shuffled the music and the song that came on was called Brave by Janae Aiko. So I feel like there's a message in that. Some people may need to listen to that song, but because she talks about a broken heart in there, and I actually can use that as an example too, relationships in a second. But you have to realize that you're now a threat to your past. And if the past is not changing with you, it's going to be a problem. So many people want to change, but still keep their same ways of being. They go back to their old ways. The answer is not in the old ways, it's in adopting newness. It's in adopting new ways. But that past don't want you to leave, because that's your comfort place. That's your safe space for what you knew up until this point. But you have to realize that your mind has to be made anew first, and then your surroundings follow it. So of course, everything that does not align with what you are creating and what you're doing, it's going to fall away. It's no longer going to align because it doesn't align with the new frequency that you're on. It doesn't align with the new system that you're on. So for example, if there are things that you were accepting in a situation and eventually you realize, wait, hold on, I have more self-respect than this. I'm not going to accept this. And so you start holding boundaries. And if those boundaries mean that you have to end friendships and relationships, then you end those to stay on those boundaries, because you're on a frequency. Because as soon as you choose to not accept those boundaries, you're going backwards. Or as soon as you choose to let them be crossed, you're going backwards, right? So for example, even within relationships, and we see this happen a lot. They break up and one person truly wants to work on themselves, right? The other person, they distract themselves with other people and things. Or and both of them may do it. You never know, right? But a change happens, right? And so one eventually gets their life together and they change and they upgrade and they evolve. And then they try to go back, only to find that their frequency is still not aligned even more. So it's going to be more issues. It's going to be more problems. And the beauty of it all is that when you're able to align again, it can flow again. But if you're not able to align again, know that you can realign with the new frequencies. So each person that you come in contact with, they're like a portal to another space for you. So some people are like a portal to your past, things that you used to do in your past, things that you knew you were connected to. And then some people are a portal to things in your future. They give you access to things that you didn't have access to before, knowledge of things that you didn't have access to before, but you had to change your frequency in your space. And so one thing I like to do is that I like to speak out my frequency, and I say, those who align with the highest frequency of me will show up for me in the manner that is caring. And all the things that are free, actually, it shows the heart of a person, right? So if you don't show up in that way, I know that you're not aligned with my frequency now. Because I know if I connect with your frequency after putting out there of what I'm willing to accept, I'm going backwards now. Does that mean that that energy won't try to come back around? No, it will. Especially if your light is bright. It will. But what you accept is a reflection of the path that you decided to take. Hopefully that makes sense. So when we look at this happening, when you decide to make those major changes in your life, we have to understand that inside of our mind, our brain is going through that same thing. It's crashing out because our subconscious and our subconscious help with fueling the development of our super ego, which is created by the culture, society, the things that we've taken in to define our morals, our integrity, what's right, what's wrong. So we're basically changing that. So our super ego a lot of times crashes out. And with that crash out, we're going to attract crash out situations because it wants us to crash out with it. So I want for you to sit and think for a moment. The changes that you've recently made, and if you need help with that, I strongly recommend going to the most recent video before this one. The changes that you've made, I want you to think about what challenges have come up since you've made those changes. What has come that may be a distraction to get in the way of the changes that you made? Because there will always be a distraction. The distraction could be friends coming through with old ideologies. It could be distractions of you going back to your past ways of doing things that you used to do. So you're actually going backwards and not forward. It could be distractions of TV. It could be distractions of your habits, addictions. It could be a distraction of working out. Anything could be a distraction when you're choosing to do something that is other than what you really want to be doing or you really feel on the inside that needs to be done. So sit and look at what may have been coming into your life and blowing up or causing difficulties, or you've been having an issue with, you haven't been able to get it right. Because one thing I've come to notice as well is that two people can be on the same frequency, right? This makes me think of, this has been coming on my timeline a lot on TikTok. The Notebook, for example, right? Two people could be on the same frequency. They were on the same frequency over the summer. But then you get separated and you get influenced by people. You get influenced by family, friends, and they're telling her that, oh, he's not good enough for you and you need to marry someone with money and all this other jazz, right? So the issues that came in when she decided of who she wanted, she was forced to, and I'm speaking on this very loosely because I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but the issues came in and she went along with those issues. She went along with the distraction. She stayed away from who she really wanted. And this can go in any manner. We oftentimes find ourselves saying no to the things that we need to be saying yes because it's different and confusing. And then we go back to the things of chaos because it has to be that something is wrong with the changes I've made because all these bad things are happening, not realizing that the bad things are happening because it's just literally a demolition of everything that no longer serves you. It's the tearing down of everything that is of your past self. So, as you're on this journey of starting new, I need you to understand that those things are going to come up to test you, to test if you're going to change your frequency back to the past, or if you are going to stand on business. Speak up for yourself, communicate, follow the path that you know is for your highest self. And that's one thing that I like to say every day is I'm always aligning with the things and people who are aligned with my highest self and frequency. And this is how they show up in my life. So if you don't show up in that way, I know you're not there for my highest self. But do know that just because something or someone didn't work previously, that in the future it can't. Because it can, but don't dwell on it. You have to know that they're going to align with your frequency when they align with your frequency. If they align with it. But don't get stuck in it. So as those difficulties come about, let them come, but don't let them change you. See them for what they are. See them as being just a storm that's going to pass. It's a storm that wants to see if you're going to keep driving or if you're going to pull over on the side of the road. So are you going to keep driving? Or are you going to pull over? I strongly recommend that you keep driving. Because this will pass, just like all the others. And you are staying and holding your frequency. The things that help the most when this happens is having boundaries, accountability, and accountability is for you, but then also holding other people in situations accountable as well. So when we're accountable to ourselves, we know that we can't just accept anything. Because I know that I have to be on my best behavior. You have to be flexible with shifts and with life. You have to be disciplined to know that you must show up in a certain manner in order to receive the things that you desire. Because you have to prove and show it to yourself. You have to get accustomed to this new way of being. It's a process. And it starts in here. And it starts with holding yourself accountable. And so it's my hopes that after you listen to this message and tapping in with me and my frequency, that you're able to take the storms as they come and see past them for what they really are and realize they're not really real. They're just reflections of the past that wants your attention. It's reflections of the past crashing out. It wants your attention. Okay? So hold your frequency, hold your line. And I want to thank you for tapping in with this frequency with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.